What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about the UFC London card going down this weekend, headlined by Blaydes versus Aspinall. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Ozzy. How we doing this week, my man?
Surviving this fucking heat wave in New York, still getting it in, jiu-jitsu wise, just came back from that. But yeah, we got another daytime card. Those are all right with me. And hopefully we're getting back the Brits for the last card because that last card did not go well for me. But hopefully we roll last week's success into this week's and yeah, just fade all these British guys for the most part. Not all of them, but a few of them.
Yeah, last UFC London card really good for the hometown fighters. They pretty much swept the board with a few exceptions. And the New York card last week was good fun. I was there myself. A couple of our key bets came through. Our best bet parlay of Burgos. My bet won in pretty sketchy fashion, while your bet Ricky Simone won in easy fashion. Underdog pick cashing pretty well there. Ricky came through for us big, and I know the Jing Liang was big for you as well. Just a
Yeah,
good day
that
for props. Algio round two, Jing Liang round two. Just a lot of good stuff there.
yeah, I mean most of those fights went, according to plan. That Ricky fight, I think he got up to like plus 164 on FanDuel, which I had to smash up a little bit. And yeah, I mean it felt good that the week before that I got reverse sweeped. And then last week I swept the board on all money line picks. So definitely felt good. Definitely was needed. And yeah, it definitely made a good deal good bankroll adjustment there. But New York cards always good. The first podcast we ever did was that Masvidal Diaz fight where I had that biggest bet of my at that time of that I have ever put on Corey Anderson against Shawnee Walker. But yeah, I mean, I always do pretty good on these New York cards. Like I had like 10 grand on Rose when she fought what's her name
Zang.
Zhang, yeah. So I mean, I always do pretty good on these on those New York cards. So, well, keep coming back for sure. I want 3 cards a year in New York. They're only on that 2 card plan right now. But yeah, so good stuff. Let's roll it into this week though.
Yep. So these fights this week, though, I feel like a lot of wide lines are. I mean, not talking value wise. I'm just talking looking at the board. A lot of +2, +300 favorites. Not as many bettable fights this week. So I don't love this card from a betting perspective. You're definitely gonna have to look at the props for some of these fights. Obviously, the live betting, of course. And with that being said, let's get right into these fights. First fight, welterweight division, Nicholas Dalby, Claudio Silva. Um, and the odds for this one, Dalby -242, Silva +207. Ozzy, you can start it off this week. What are you thinking about the first fight?
Yeah, so I mean, these two guys are old men for sure. Dolby I think is pushing 38, 39, and Silva I think is in his 40s. So both mature guys. Decent amount of tape on them. Claudio Silva has not been as that active, but he's coming off that Court McGee fight where I mean, I'll be honest, I thought he was gonna beat Court McGee. He had a few good moments there, but he kind of fatigued, and Court McGee was able to start grinding him and do what Court McGee does. I personally, though, prefer the Claudio Silva side. I don't see why Nicholas Dalby should be this much of a favorite. I mean, he has a pretty good record in decisions, but he traditionally is bad against these southpaw guys. Obviously, Claudio Silva has pretty ugly striking, but I mean, it's effective because he's the kind of guy he just throws as hard as he can, and as often as he can because he doesn't really care about getting taken down. I can see Dolby potentially landing, a KO shot as Silva's coming in because he's not very defensively minded, and Dolby does kind of like throw some good intercepting shots. You kind of see that in the Tim Means fight, even, and a few of his other fights. But his grappling is, I think, not good at all. Especially when he gets put on bottom. Like Tim Means, I think they only credited him with like one takedown, but he was on top of him multiple times in that fight. Dolby looked pretty bad on his back to me, and even in the clinch, like Tim Means is controlling the clinch pretty easily, and Tim Means I don't think is a good grappler, and I don't think he's very strong either. And I think that Claudio Silva, his takedowns aren't great, but he spent his, his camp in ATT again this time. I don't think he did that last time, and it's been for multiple months now. I think it's been since like April or something like that. So he's been working. This is obviously a hometown fight for him, right? He's like based in the UK, and yeah, like plus 210, plus 220, plus 230. I think it's a solid bet. I think if he gets Dalby, down, I don't think Dalby is actually getting up very easily, and this could very well be a submission. So I will be playing Claudio Silva, and I like his submission prop as well. You always bet that with Claudio Silva, in my opinion. You could get 5 or 6 to 1 currently, and I think that's super live. So yeah, I'll pick Silva to get the upset here over Dalby, and yeah, I think a solid underdog play.
And most of that sounds good to me. I mean, there's no question you can lay this chalk on Dalby. I mean, in his four-fight UFC stretch so far, since he's come back, he hasn't come close to justifying, being a minus 200 favorite, albeit against some better competition than Claudio Silva. But he's just not a guy who proves that minus 240 favoritism. And I agree with what you were saying about Silva being a tricky fighter, can get on top here, definitely has the better grappling of the two, and I just don't see why Dalby's this favorite off of a pretty long layoff too, right? Hasn't fought in over a year. Was kind of questioning whether he's coming back to the sport or not. So yeah, it's an old man fight. It's a low level fight at this point, but one guy is 2 to 1. So I mean, that's the only option for a bet there, or maybe the over. I mean, they have Dalby KO at like 2 to 1, which I think is terrible odds. So look to play some silver props, maybe some overs here. That's going to take it to the next fight, which is a women's strawweight or a flyweight fight. Mandy Baum taking on Victoria Leonardo. Baum minus 112, Leonardo minus 108. So some steam coming in on Leonardo throughout the week. She was, an underdog last week, now getting all the way steam down to pick 'em. And, I didn't really tape this fight. I didn't look into it. All I know is German fighters notoriously terrible in the UFC. I was looking at this like last week because Dustin Stolz was fighting, but he is actually not even German. He is from America, so that data wasn't too relevant. He obviously did win his fight, but I think it's like something like German fighters are like 0-8 in their last UFC fights or something like that between Nicholas Stolze and you know some of the guys in Germany, just not good MMA going on over there. I've had some faith in Leonardo in her first few UFC fights, but I'm done putting any stock into her, man. I mean, forget that. So low level fight, flip a coin, probably don't even bet it, and that's enough about that one for me.
You don't got bomb. You picked bomb last time. You're not going back to that
Yeah, no,
well.
I did pick
You're
her
not down for
against
that.
Lipsky.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, did not make a bet on it, but yeah, I did pick her in that fight.
smart, smart. I told you this bitch is bad, and she proved to be really bad. But let me get into this fight because I did look into it a little bit. People are betting Leonardo. Like, I mean, I don't know why. Like, I mean, it's just people take the women's dog, sting, and they kind of implement it in weird ways, in my opinion. Because the better angle to me is like this fight is a pick 'em now. This is a strategy I've implemented lately. When you got a fight like this, a pick 'em fight, you just play the over, bro. You play the over, you play the goes the distance. These girls are both harmless. Like, Leonardo has a bunch of TKO losses on her record, but it's like Firo. She broke her arm last time. Like, she's harmless. Mandy Baum, she's harmless too, right? You saw the striking she was putting out there in that, last fight. It was awful. And then grappling wise, I just don't see either of these girls being good enough to actually submit the other one. So I like the over. I like the goes distance. Why pick a side here? Like, late, like, yeah, maybe you could say Leonardo should be the favorite, but I don't know why. Like, she's not that great. And Bomb, in the bigger cage, I think she'll try to not engage all that much. And yeah, it goes distance and the over, definitely the best side here. Women's MMA, you're getting, you only need to lay 200. There's no way these girls are knocking each other out either. Like both of their KO props are like, over, in the 4-digit range. And I don't think that Leonardo is gonna get takedowns easy. So over goes distance, one of the two. Parlay that shit with Claudio Silva, and you'll start off good.
Do you know that Mandy Baum was supposed to fight Talia Santos twice? Imagine that, man.
Imagine that. Imagine, and I think we would have got. I don't know. Maybe You think we get playable odds there? I don't know. I don't know what the odds were gonna be, but why would she? Oh, it's 125. Whatever, dude. Bandy Bomb is bad. Don't bet her. Like this is bait, probably. Both these bets are L's, in my opinion. But what's the distance?
Yep, that's enough about that one. Lightweight division next. Your boy Jai Herbert taking on Kyle Nelson. Jai Herbert minus 275. Kyle Nelson plus 235. So your boy's
Mm,
back in action after a
fuck
pretty
yes.
nasty knockout loss about 4 months
Oh,
ago.
hurt me. That KO hurt me so bad. Like, dude, like I don't usually get emotional. Like by now, I've watched so many fights. But bro, when he hit this motherfucker with that kick, I jumped out of my couch. I was like, "Oh!" And then obviously, he can't defend a takedown. He's got skinny legs, and Topuria, kudos to him. He definitely showed some heart there. And that KO was fucking vicious. Like how he freezes him with that left hook to the body, and then just comes over the top. Picturesque, beautiful. But I mean, I think this is. I'm not saying this is an interesting fight, but they're gonna bang for sure, 100%. And I'm looking forward to the Jai Herbert interview. You already know that's like my favorite part about Jai Herbert. But I'm hoping he picks up a win here. But he does need to be careful here because Kyle Nelson does come in there, swinging overhands. Um, I think that's about it. That's all I remember about the guy, and that the fact that he's got bad gas. But he looks a little bit better shape, from his last fight. I thought he got cut and then he got like re-signed, but I don't know what it is. Maybe it was like
That's
he
what
had a
happened.
fight left on his. Is that what
Yep.
happened? Okay, so it's insane that he got re-signed, but I think they're trying to give Jai Herbert a favorable matchup, given that he fought Trinaldo, Moicano, and fucking Topuria with this worthy mixed in there. But I mean, it's potentially a little volatile because Jai Herbert obviously he does not have a good chin and is not improving after he got KO'd, dead in his last fight. So I wouldn't be surprised that Cal Nelson, catching him with a KO shot. I mean, he's 6-1 to win by KO. Like I think that should be how you play him if you want, a little bit of plus money action. But I'll pick Jai Herbert here. I don't got that many thoughts about the matchup itself. Other than I think Jai Herbert's gonna be throwing a lot of jabs, and Kyle Nelson's gonna be trying to calf kick and throw overhand rights. So that's about it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking into this fight this week, honestly, to try to play the overs possibly, because I feel like Nelson should be tough enough to stick around here. I mean, he is going up to 155 here in the UFC. We've seen him mostly at 145. The Quarantillo fight where he got dropped and he kind of gassed out, that was at 145. And, just sucking himself down a lot to get to 145. Now he looks in really good shape. I sent out a tweet about him. He definitely left that USADA pool for a while, and he jumped back in it. So you know what that means. He's looking shredded out there, and he's flying in enemy territory against Jai Herbert. But Herbert, like you said, knocked out 4 months ago, brutally knocked out. Not getting any better. He's 34. He's a pretty bad grappler, right? He gets taken down quite easily. Not really good off of his back. And we don't really have a good proven example of him showing good cardio either. So for a guy whose chin isn't that good, who's not a good grappler, who's not a proven cardio uh, fighter, why is he minus 275 here? I mean, I feel like you got to take a small gamble on Nelson. We could see some improvements coming off that 2 year layoff. He could be looking a lot better at this 155 weight class. And, technically wise, though, Herbert is the better striker, obviously the better boxer. He throws a lot of calf kicks, and Jai Herbert, and Nelson, excuse me, was getting his leg lit up by Quarantillo in their fight with calf kicks. So I could see the calf kicks being a big weapon for Herbert here. I can't do both. I can't do Kyle Nelson and the over just in case Herbert, nukes him early. I'll have to decide which I want to do, and you'll see that posted on my Bet MMA later. But I'm definitely looking to play this fight in some way, and I'm actually cheering for an upset. I'm sorry, Ozzy.
Yeah, fuck you,
Herbert's
dude.
a
Come
cool
on.
guy.
You can't cheer for a Canadian dude. Come on. This is the first British guy on the card. Or no, Claudio Silva is, but this is the first real British guy on the
Yeah,
card.
yeah.
The-
He's an adopted
yeah,
Brit.
he's an adopted Brit, but the Black Country banger, he's gonna lay Cloud Nelson out at some point. I mean, probably someone's dying in this fight. Like someone doesn't start round three. What is it? You see that's minus 138 on FanDuel.
I
That's
don't
bait.
know. I think it's. I think it's going long. I think it really could go
I don't
long.
know, but I'm not gonna bet on this fight. I'm just root for Jai
Like,
Herbert.
Nelson's gonna be doing a yeah, one more thing I'll say is Nelson's go I think he's gonna clinch. He's gonna clinch, he's gonna go for takedowns, and, like, one takedown for Nelson and, like, Nelson could look like the favorite, you
We'll
know?
see.
So, like, I just don't get how Herbert's minus, 275, 300. Next fight, though, a highly anticipated fight, flyweight division, Muhammad Mokaev taking on Charles Johnson, Inner G, as they call him, making his UFC debut. Mokaev minus 500 plus 375 Johnson on the comeback. So, pretty popular underdog amongst, some sharper bettors that I consider on Charles Johnson here. I'm on him for 1 unit at those big underdog odds plus 380. Um, you know, it seemed to be the line seemed to be dropping a few days ago. Definitely some sharp action coming in on him, but then those parlayers will eventually come in as well. And we're already seeing Johnson go back to 375. So hopefully he doesn't go up back into the fours. But I mean, this is just a competitive fight all around. I mean, Mokaev is, an interesting prospect, but he's obviously going to be, very overrated from a betting perspective, considering is he undefeated or does he have one loss? No, he's undefeated. He's kind of Russian, British. Good grappler. Had a flashy finish in his last fight with the flying knee and then getting the rear naked choke. So, there's just a lot of hype behind Mokaev right now. But Charles Johnson is, a proven 5 round fighter, a good fighter in all aspects of MMA, a really high level striker, good southpaw striker, good kicks in boxing. He knows how to defend takedowns, get up off his back. He can scramble. I mean, he definitely is not a perfect defensive grappler, and that's definitely where the fight is going to be most in favor of Mokaev. But there's a lot of footage out there of Johnson getting taken down and working his way back into fights and fighting 3, 5 rounds at high tempos. And this guy is just a really proven, good fighter, and you're getting him at nearly 4-1 against the young fighter in Mokaev, who in my opinion is still on the unproven side. And I just feel like watching his fights, really watching like the details like of like the Driscoll fight, the Blaine O'Driscoll fight, and then he had another one. Let me remember this guy's name. Um, I think Hussein was the guy's name. Like they're just close fights, man. Like he's not dominating these guys in the grappling. Um, I think he's getting a bit overrated, and I'm down to have a bet on Charles Johnson at those big underdog odds, and I think he'll fight for your money at that price. What about you, Ozzy?
Yeah, I'm kind of interested. I'm interested in. Let me. I'm interested in Charleston. I'm just for some like these and all this week. I want plus 400 or more. That's what I want. And if I don't get it, maybe I'm gonna wait because Charles Johnson he does start kind of slow. And this dude Mokaev, like I think he's trying to, I don't know. I think he's gonna come out quick. But I mean, you look at this dude's record. I mean, like a lot of these amateur fights, obviously they're 3 3-minute rounds. So when you could just fucking take some dudes down and shit, like it's whatever. He fought the same dude multiple times. And I mean, Charles Johnson's got great cardio as well. He's got, he can like up the pace in later rounds as well, or even in later rounds or later in rounds. And then also, Mokaev fought at 125 in his last fight against Durden, obviously. But I mean, a lot of his other fights, they're like catch weight 130, 135. Like if he's trying to grapple Charles Johnson and Johnson's not giving up, the neck, where like he's taking his back or go for that guillotine, I could see his cardio maybe tapering off a little bit and Johnson, kind of just putting it on him a little bit. These guys do have like some commonalities where I think Mokaev has trained with like those the Hickman guys and the people in what's it called in Thailand or Singapore, wherever the fuck they train. I think Thailand. And yeah, Johnson, he's got a great jab. I mean, I think at 125, he knows kind of like how to fight and how to like pace himself overall. He just has skills in a lot of areas. So would I be surprised if he got submitted easily? No, but I don't think he's gonna get stunned by strikes. I think he's gonna be able to keep his range pretty well. He has chokes of his own as well. To maybe try to discourage some of the grappling, or maybe if he's slowing down to try to like counter some of the grappling of Mokaev. But I mean, I just want this guy at range and jabbing, and Mokaev. But I could see this dude just pressing him into the cage and kind of like searching for double legs and dumping him down. So I'm interested in watching the fight. I want plus 400. And if I don't get it, I'm gonna try and maybe get in there live a bit. But yeah, I'm very interested in Charles Johnson, and he seems like a very smart, cerebral fighter as well, which I like to see, I like to hear.
So 375 is not good enough for you. You need 400.
Oh, yep,
I don't
yep.
know. I
I
don't know
need.
about that. I don't think that's good.
Why not? The parlayers are coming out, dude. It's gonna happen. Don't worry.
It might, but
Is it
like the
gonna
difference
move for
in odds.
375?
The mu
Is it gonna? No, I'm not gonna lose it. So what? What? Why can't I
But isn't
wait?
there a
Why do you
isn't there
need
a
a?
1% difference in implied probability, I believe?
Yeah, but why do I gotta bet it now? Why would you bet it now? It's not moving. Like you think it's gonna go to 300? No. So why do I'm not?
Well,
Yeah, I'm not
for a
playing it
second
now.
there, it was on its way down, like I said, but now
Like when?
it went to
Yeah, it
340.
went to 340.
Yeah,
Right.
that's substantial. All right, enough about that one
Oh,
though.
they're betting on fucking Mokaev, dude. They're not betting on Charles Johnson. So
I think the us good betters out there are going to be coming in on our guy NRG. Um,
yeah, sure.
so next fight is featherweight division: Makwan Amirkhani, JSP, Jonathan Pierce. The odds for this one: Pierce minus 193, Makwan plus 168. Your turn to start this one off, Ozzy. What are you thinking here?
Don't really give a shit about this fight. I mean, people think that Mason Jones is amazing.
Whoa, whoa, what?
I'm a little bit. What?
I said
What?
JSP and Makwan.
Oh, my bad, my bad. I was looking at this. I was looking at the
Best
fucking
fight odds.
best fight
I was
odds.
too at
My
first,
fault.
but yes.
Okay, so JSP versus Makwan. All right, well, okay, this is a good fight. I'm high on JSP. I had a bet on him in his Morales fight, which he showed out for. It was a great fight for him. Um,
Huge bet, wasn't it?
and Makwan, yeah, it was one of my bigger definitely my biggest bet on that card. That was my best bet I think that week. I don't remember. But Makwan, I mean Makwan's kind of like a hot and cold guy. Like I said, this guy has only beat Brits, European guys, like literally like almost every American person he's ever fought, he's lost in convincing fashion. And his two Anaconda wins are over Mike Grundy, who's thinking about his dad having cancer, and fucking Danny Henry. They're not built like JSP. Now, when I say that, I'm not advocating for the most part a bet on JSP at this juice. But I do think he is a very deserved favorite here. If it continues to go down, I will be interested in taking him and backing him. But he just needs to come in with a certain, a solid game plan. Because I mean, Makwan is solid in the first round. I mean, he was beating Laurent Murphy. I think I had him against Laurent Murphy. He was beating him in that fight. And he has solid Greco. I wouldn't be surprised at him taking JSP down, to be honest. Because he is good with the Greco if he gets his hands locked and he's a solid wrestler, but this guy does not know how to use his energy. And if he can't be on top later on in fights, like he just doesn't look good. Like you could tell he's really uncomfortable on the feet and very susceptible, I think, to being hit. And I mean, people could talk shit about JSP's striking all they want, but the guy overwhelms guys with the volume as some like maybe he hasn't done it that often, but I do think he has the ability to do so. He's just a gritty dude, so I think he's gonna be able to cook Makwan later on in the fight. I'm not gonna probably bet anything here unless it goes down a significant amount, but I kind of do like this over 1.5. That is minus 165. Obviously, like I said, Makwan goes through the chokes early, but I don't think JSP's gonna smash him, completely out of the water early on. So yeah, I'm kind of interested in that over 2.5 or over 1.5.
Yeah, that over 1.5 sounds good to me. I mean, I think this should be, a very grappling heavy fight. I could see it being competitive at times, but obviously JSP seems like the stronger guy of the two. The jiu-jitsu exchanges here should be interesting. I think Amir Khan definitely has, better jiu-jitsu, but Pierce is just obviously just heavier on top, better wrestler, more physical, bigger guy as well. Has fought at 155, so I feel like that should give Pierce the advantage in these grappling exchanges. But I still feel we're going to see some close, guillotines or front chokes from Makwan at times. But later in the fight, like Ozzy was saying, Pierce definitely builds into the fights better, has better cardio, and Makwan does kind of wilt as the fight goes on. A lot of his wins are just skewed towards the first round, and he just doesn't build into fights well. So yeah, that over 1.5 seems good. I mean, I think they're just going to grapple, and I think both guys will be able to, withstand each other's best on the ground for at least, a round and a half. And honestly, I think it probably could, just sail its way to the decision. Plus 160 for decision seems kind of. Um,
Di
Go ahead.
Hey, quick question for you. Did Grundy tap or did he go to sleep? Do you
That's a
remember?
really good question. I feel like he tapped, which is pretty bad.
Okay, well,
You
I'll
gotta
tell
go
you
to sleep in that situation.
agree, JSP's not tapping. So, that's he's gonna have to put him unconscious, so that's the only other thing I'll add.
That's a good point. And JSP sub 575. I mean, I got
I mean, he could definitely put him out. Yeah, I mean, bro, I think JSP could finish him later on, so I might play some JSP 2-3.
yeah, man. I did
That's
that
for sure.
in his last fight. That was some painful stuff to watch. Oh man, the odds aren't good. 6 to 1 on round two, 9 to 1 round three. It's okay. Um, but yeah, that's enough about that fight. Next one is, uh, let's see, Nathaniel Wood, Charles Rosa, featherweight division. Uh, Huge favorite here for Wood, minus 600, Rosa plus 450. I mean, I'm looking at the goes the distance in this one. Wood is moving up to 145 here. Rosa, he is a finished product at this point. This guy, has that karate style, those sideways kicks, decent to below average striker, but an awful grappler. I mean, this guy could just gets taken down at will. Just no ability to defend a takedown, no ability to get off his back. I'll give the guy credit though; he's extremely hard to submit. Extremely hard to submit. And considering Wood's the one moving up in weight, he doesn't really have power in his punches below a weight class. I don't really see it translating up a weight class here. And Roach is just generally tough enough to typically make it to a decision. I mean, we've seen him in a lot of bad spots lately. And he somehow makes it to the decision every time. So I just feel like Wood's probably gonna, beat him up wherever the fight goes. And I think it'll be a decision. So I'm looking to bet that fight goes to decision minus 176 on FanDuel. Um, it's not worth it for Wood decision at this price. Just take the GTD and leave it at that.
Yeah, I like Nathaniel Wood. I'm actually high on him, higher than normal on him as a British prospect. He was on the brink of death in his last fight. I forgot who he was supposed to fight that he pulled out. I don't know who pulled out, but he was looking fucking terrible. So I'm glad he was moving up to 145, and I think he could, I think he could win some fights up there because the guy's pretty well rounded. He has a grappling game, which you don't see that often from Brits. He's got some takedowns, some top game. He's got some submissions on his record. Obviously, he needs to get a little bit more stiff competition now, and I think Charles Rosa is a perfect guy to introduce him to the weight class. Um, I think the fight could be a bit competitive, but the thing is, Nathaniel Wood is going to overwhelm him with volume. I think. You saw in that Casey Kenny fight, which was an awesome fight. I love rewatching that one. Wood just, I think later on the gas, like Kenny knew he could one out hustle him on the takedowns and just kind of just keep answering him with the volume. So, I think that Wood could potentially finish Rosa maybe on the feet with some strikes, but Rosa's a fucking weasel, man. He just starts like, doing spinning strikes and, pulling guard. I don't know, like shooting for, I don't know. He's going to do some stuff to survive in here that I think could push the fight to go the distance. But I think Wood's going to smash him, honestly. Like, he throws really well in combination. I love how he finishes off with leg kicks, often. He's got a pretty crisp jab. His defense, I think, is actually pretty solid as well. He's always got his hands coming back. I think he got over eager in that John Dodson fight, and he ended up getting clipped and knocked out there. But for the most part, his defense is tight if he's not overextending. And like I said, I think his grappling is solid as well. So yeah, I think Wood solid. He should get a win here, and looking forward to him in a few other featherweight fights down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I just bet GTD in this one here. I mean, they have GTD 63%, and to me, the only finish that seems plausible is Wood KO, and I don't put that above 30%. So you got to go to GTD there. Next fight is a lightweight fight. We have Mark Diakiese-Hadzovic. Diakiese minus 365, Hadzovic plus 300. Another big underdog here. Any faith in the dog here or any interest in any props, Ozzy?
We were just talking about this fight a little bit before. I just think that DeCasey's gonna win. I'm not gonna say easily, but I mean the fact that he showed that grappling against Slava, and you think about the fact that the striking performance that he had, although he lost obviously to Fiziev. I just thought that was a pretty solid though showing for him even in a loss. That he's like Demir. I don't think Demir has them, and I've actually not minded Demir that much in his UFC career, but I just don't see him offering that much for Diakiese. Like Demir complains that people grapple him. His conditioning is good, so he should be able to continue and stay in the fight. But I feel that Casey should be able to take him down pretty easily eventually, and get to those similar positions like those wrist rides and stuff like that. And I was telling you that Slava, he kept trying to get back up, and Casey was kind of like just holding him, like content on continuing to keep him down on the mat. But Demir, this guy's got terrible get-ups, and I think Casey's gonna be able to solidify position much easier on him than he did on Slava and potentially, put some damage on him. But I'm not interested in betting on this fight at all. I mean, Demir is 35. I just don't think that he has a lot of power to put on DeCasey. And obviously, DeCasey is a part of the 93 contingency, so he will win this fight and probably dominantly.
Yeah, I mean, the wrestling does seem like it's going to go DKC's way pretty heavily. Demir just not a good defensive wrestler in any facet, but I mean, the striking I think is actually going to be close here. I mean, DKC for being like a flashy striker, with those the kicks, and he had some early knockouts in the UFC. The guy hasn't outstruck anybody in like a long time. He really relies on this wrestling to win fights, and he's
Yeah, but he's willing to, I don't want to interrupt you, but he's willing
it's
to
okay.
like throw calf kicks as well. And I mean, he's a pretty diverse striker overall. Like,
Yeah. He's not he's not bad, like, he's a decent to good striker, but he just it's remarkable how he never uses his striking to win the fights, like, he's always going to the grappling. But, like, striking though, I think, Demir, his boxing looked alright versus Yancey, he was, good technique, good output there. I thought he was throwing just a ton more strikes than he typically did, and you did see him slow down in round 3, nearly get finished because of it, but I thought that was a decent win. I don't know. It just seems like a bit of an overreaction for DKC to be, nearly a 400 favorite after he was, an underdog to some contender series bum just like a few months ago, right? Like, um, yeah. So
yeah, that line was obviously wrong though.
that's true. But still, just the market reaction to it. Before we go on to the next fight, Ozzy, can you just reset the mic real quick and a little echo?
Sure,
Um,
no worries.
Last fight on the prelims here. Interesting matchup for the circumstances behind it. Mason Jones versus Ludovic Klein. You have Mason Jones, the one coming in on short notice. I believe he took this fight 2 days before. I think it's going to be 9 days before the fight. And Ludovic Klein was the one preparing for a fight against I forget who.
Baja
Bahamondes,
Mondays.
exactly. And all of a sudden, 9 days notice, Jones is coming in here, but Jones is the gigantic favorite at a minus 360 favorite to Ludovic Klein plus 295. So obviously the market is extremely confident in Jones despite having, no training camp. You think that's something to consider here, Ozzy, or you think the matchup is just so heavily in favor of Jones that it doesn't matter?
I like when guys are in training camps, and I don't know, like I definitely wouldn't take a fight if I wasn't trained. But I mean, Mason Jones, he's shown that he could go 3 hard, and all this. And the matchup, I was saying it earlier, like I'm not that high on Mason Jones. Like I don't think he's like amazing overall, but I do think that he caters his game plan and how he fights pretty well by opponent overall. And you kind of like look at his career, I think it's shown that a bit. And what I think is going to happen here is Ludovic, he's obviously going to fire off that left kick, but in that 155 fight against Devontae Smith, I was not impressed overall with like his performance and kind of like how he fought. And obviously, I would say Devontae Smith is much lower end than Mason Jones is just overall in many facets. I just see Mason Jones crowding Ludovic Klein. I see him countering the kicks pretty often with his own kick and his hands as well. Um, and he fought Patrick. You saw how he fought Patrick. He was just swarming Patrick anytime Patrick threw anything, which was not that often. And yeah, I think he should be able to wrestle down Klein and use his grappling at some point. But I'm not interested in parlaying them. Like I just this is not the angle that I like to take, especially with the circumstances of the fight. But Mason Jones, I think he has a solid baseline. I'm just not high on him overall, like in the aspect of entering the top 15 overall. But I think that he's gonna win a lot of fights and be the favorite very often. But not a fight that I want to bet or play at all. What's the total here? I saw it was like a 2.5, and it's like even. It's basically even money either side. I don't know. I mean, I would probably lean towards the under, but
Yeah, under.
yeah,
Look
I'd
at the
lean
goes
towards the under.
to
But
distance. So the IT is -190, but the under 2.5 is only -125. That doesn't make sense.
no,
That
it doesn't make sense. But yeah, I would lean the under just because I think it's gonna be a fast paced, high paced fight.
Yeah, I mean they have Jones KO 175, but then his sub is 8-1. I mean, I'm betting Mason Jones sub for sure in this fight. I mean, he took down Onama and put him in like a ton of sub attempts. Onama mysteriously survived them all, but actually, the stats say he doesn't. He didn't have any sub attempts. Maybe I'm making that shit up. I swear he had Onama in like rear naked choke attempts, or at least back takes. Like I just think that he's gonna take the fight to the floor, and there's a great chance that he gets some sort of sub opportunity. Nate Landwehr subbed this guy not that long ago, and
Very true. And that was a fight where Klein uh fatigued a lot at 145. And I just think that Jones is gonna be able to get some attrition on Ludovic. Like Ludovic is gonna find out what it's like to fight like a real 155er in this fight.
right. I mean, he fucking yeah, Devontae Smith, one of the worst fighters at lightweight. Pretty easy introduction there. But yeah, I mean, Jones obviously must be confident in himself. He must be training a lot. And he might not have been in camp necessarily, but he must be in pretty good shape to take this fight on such short notice. Yeah, Jones sub 8-1. That's crazy. Maybe the throw in the round 2 and 3 as well. Um, Main card time, pretty solid main card. UFC always brings it with these London main cards. We got Paul Craig taking on Volkan-Oezdemir, light heavyweight division. Paul Craig's the underdog, or Volkan -146, Craig +126. Somehow some action is still coming in on Craig. I'm seeing some guys we know, being pretty confident in Volkan this week. I don't get it personally. Um, I just don't understand how anybody could be confident picking and betting against Paul the Bear Jew Craig. I mean, this guy is clearly, has some sort of. Oh, somebody got disconnected. Oh, Ozzy. Um, you good?
Yeah, my bad.
Paul Craig clearly has some sort of mysterious aura about him that is, carrying him to win these fights. There's clearly some, influence from God or whatever being you believe in, that Craig is somehow getting some guidance in these fights to win them, and that cannot be denied. And why would you want to bet against that? Especially with a guy like Volkan Ozdemir, who is, definitely the better striker than Craig, but it's not like Volkan is some like proving grappler who has, defended a lot of subs and been in close grappling fights. Like he largely hasn't been grappled that much in his fights. And I just don't think there's much evidence to prove that he's going to be able to, avoid these dangerous positions on the ground. Um, I think he's going to be a little bit smarter than Krylov, taking the fight directly to the floor the second the fight starts. But still, Craig fights have this way of getting to the floor. He's losing. He's getting hit with ground and pound. People think he's losing, and all of a sudden he turns it around and still wins. And I'm not betting against that. We were talking about it last week. With Shane Burgos being 6-0 in New York, Paul Craig is 6-0 in England, right? And Ozzy, isn't there another layer to that stat as well? Doesn't it go to London as well?
I think he's 3-0 in London with 3 triangles, bro. This guy, I'm gonna take this guy obviously has made some kind of deal with Satan, God. I don't know who he made the deal with, but this motherfucker's got some shit going on. I don't know what it is. And Volkan, to me, yeah, I mean, look, I'm not like I see why you would want to bet Volkan. Like, I mean, Volkan, he's a nuclear hitter. Like, he's got big power in his hands for sure. He throws the hooks. He comes in there, pretty solid. He's shown not take down defense, but like he's shown that he's not like a complete fish. Like I don't think it's gonna be easy for Paul Craig to knock him over. But I mean, the same shit happened with Krylov. Like Krylov is, I think, I don't know who I would favor in that fight. I think I would actually favor Krylov, but Ozdemir, he just doesn't seem that smart to me overall. Like he will land on Paul Craig for sure. That is certain. But I don't know, man. Like I just don't trust this guy Volkan. Like I'm not gonna have a Volkan ticket. I'm probably not gonna have a Craig ticket either. Especially I'm like plus 130. Come on, like you can't do like I can't do that. Um, but bro, I mean, I think that Paul Craig could he's always surprised people. Like I remember when he shot that double leg on fucking Shogun, I was like, oh no, like this bro's in trouble right now. Like if Falkirk's shooting these takedowns. And I mean he just has a complete belief that he's gonna get these fights to the ground and submit these guys. And Volkan, bro, if you look at his fights, he like legitimately could be like 1-6 in his last like 7 fights. Like, albeit he's fought some tough guys, but he lost that racket fight, in my opinion.
For sure.
Yeah, he lost that fight. So other than that, he's been losing a lot of these fights. And like even against Anthony Smith, man, he's like beating on Anthony Smith, and then he just gets taken down. He quits. He gives up. And against like Ankalaev, like he just was so beta in that fight that it's just I don't know. Like maybe he's gonna do it. Maybe he's gonna win. I'm not gonna lose money either way. I'm not betting on the fight. I don't think. But man, I'm really rooting for a Paul Craig submission, like a dominant win en route to a submission. But like betting multiple units on Volkan, honestly, I think is a bad, bad, bad strategy. But I wish these fellas luck. I really do.
Complete agreement with everything
I
there.
really do.
No bets are looking like it's going to be placed for me, but I gotta cheer for the Bear Jew. I mean, I bet him last fight. I bet him no scorecards. Sub. I mean, that was just amazing to watch unfold, and it would be a treat to see it happen again. Next fight, we got one of our favorite female fighters in the podcast here, Hannah Goldie, taking on Molly McCann. Molly McCann minus 425, Hannah Goldie plus 325. Um, as myself, the Martian, I have tweeted in the past, Hannah Goldie has some legendary proportions on her, and one of the best. Premium services you can pay for in MMA, if you guys know what I'm talking about. A lot of premium services going on out there. Not a lot of bang for your buck, but with Hannah Goldie, you're getting good value out of your dollar.
Transparent too. Transparent as well. She tells you
What you're
from
getting.
what I heard, not primary, not primary source, but she tells you what she will and will not do. So
Right, like, a lot of
transparent.
these people, like, you don't even know what you're buying, not with Hannah Goldie, and, you just love to see it. American flying into London here, Molly McCann's territory, so just like the value in her premium services, Ozzy, is there any value in her betting line this week?
I would love to say yes. And it is possible that the answer is yes. But the issue for me from seeing her last fight against Whitmire, which obviously I cashed on because Whitmire at Juice is always a bad idea, no matter what, no matter who she's fighting. She'd be fighting my nana, as Patty Pimblett said, and she'd probably get finished. But what's it called? I do think Melanie McCann is actually making some improvements in the grappling realm. And I'll touch on that as well when we get to the Patty fight. But I do think she is making some improvements, and I think that she can get this fight to the ground when needed if she wants. And kind of control it a little bit. Obviously, Hannah Goldie pulled off that armbar in her last fight. I don't think that's gonna happen here. I don't think that's something she could replicate. Uh, but Hannah Goldie's pretty tough. She has good cardio. Obviously, she's in good condition. Um, but I do think that she's been in some good fights, like the Belbita fight. That was a low key war for female standards, and they were exchanging quite a bit. And Hannah Goldie is not kind of like scared to get hit, and we'll see if she could take the shots from Molly McCann, the spinning back fist and all those things. The under here, plus 205. Like I think that Molly McCann's gonna push the pace. Like I said, I could see some grappling going on here. So I need to look at this fight a little bit more to see if I want to play the under at all. But I do think that Molly McCann is going to win this fight. I don't know how exactly, but I do think that a finish here is possible. if she does just start overwhelming Hannah Goldie. I'll probably pass in the fight overall, but the only bet that I'd be looking at is some kind of under or not to go the distance. Probably under, but yeah, I don't got that many thoughts on the matchup overall. Honestly, I just think that Molly McCann has more volume and Hannah Goldie is a little awkward on the feet, but game as well. But I do think that Molly McCann does go for some takedowns here.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I mean, I would love to support our girl Hannah, but I just don't see this matchup being good for her in any way. I mean, McCann probably uses that ugly bull rush style of striking to land on Goldie, make her uncomfortable on the feet, and the takedown should be there as well. I agree. I mean, the rewatching the Goldie fight against Whitmire, I mean, the most obvious like trip judo takedowns in the world are coming, and Hannah doesn't see it and just gets taken down. She gets up and she gets taken down with the exact same takedown again. I mean, that fight was just hilarious. Like Whitmire's like passing her guard, she's like on top of her, and then she still gets armbarred. She still gets armbarred. I mean, how the hell does that happen? But also, how the hell does Molly McCann's spinning back elbow knockout happen in that fight? I feel really bad for anybody who had a Molly decision in that one. I remember I bet Molly McCann there, Ozzy, and I think you made fun of me for betting McCann, and she was, obviously the bet of the century.
That's also a funny thing. Molly McCann's going from Luana Carolina, who famously could not do even a push up in one of her videos, to the best
Bicep.
bodybuilder that yeah the juiciest biceps that the UFC could produce in the women's division. Actually, kind of funny. So
That is true. I mean, yeah, the physique's completely different here. I mean, there might be like an 8-inch height difference between those two, but I mean, hopefully Goldie can pull off something miraculous and make this entertaining. But yeah, it should be a Molly decision. I mean, I don't see her really passing guard and doing work on bottom or on top enough to finish this. So it's hard to really see how McCann finishes. Um, so next fight, another old man fight. Alexander Gustafsson taking on Nikita Krylov in the light heavyweight division. We have Krylov minus 195, Gustafsson plus 170. So I mean, I'm not interested in betting Gustafsson here, or Krylov for that matter. I think it's honestly kind of Krylov. I won't say it. I was gonna say Krylov or pass, but I'm not gonna say it. I mean, you can make your own conclusions on betting this one, but I mean, to me, Gustafsson looked like he was really slowing down years ago in like the Anthony Smith fight, and he tried a little heavyweight stint that went extremely poorly. He's back down to 205 here, and he's got some miles on him, and his style is just a terrible style for an aging fighter, especially an aging big fighter like himself. I mean, that in and out, light on his feet, he's hopping around. I mean, imagine if like Dominic Cruz was a light heavyweight. He wouldn't be still successful. Obviously, that style just isn't going to translate to being old and slow and not as agile. And Nikita Krylov, to me, is much more agile and athletic at this point in their careers. And even though at one point Gustafsson was a much better fighter than Krylov, I think Krylov, has him covered everywhere at this point, with due to that athletic disparity. And Krylov has turned into a solid fighter everywhere himself. He's turned into a functional offensive grappler. He remember he submitted OSP not that long ago, which is hard to do. And I think he just knows what he's doing at most phases of the fight, and he can probably rough up Gustafsson and athlete his way to a victory here. Not sure how he's going to get it done. The results are pretty evenly spread out between decision, KO, submission. I kind of lean decision, honestly. I feel like these guys may actually go the full 15. I just feel like Gustafsson is probably tough enough to hang around. He's not going to really go for it if he's down, and he's just going to be content to kind of lose a decision. So goes the distance at plus 150. Krylov decision plus 310. Ozzy, you echoing any of the same thoughts here? Or you got your own?
well, I mean, I'm a big fan. Let me not say I'm a fan of Alexander Gustafsson, and like you said, yeah, maybe the game's passed him by a little bit, and all these kinds of things, and people have been discouraging me from, picking, betting, Alexander Gustafsson, and I can see why. Like, I was going back at Krylov tape, and like you said, man, Krylov has improved a lot. People used to make fun of him, and like you said, man, his wrestling has really improved a lot. and he kind of hits great takedowns. And I mean, he overall is a pretty good fighter, but I just got the sneaky suspicion that like Gustafsson has more to give than people are giving him credit for. But I probably am gonna end up passing on the fight early, just because I do think that it could be a case where Gustafsson, like, he just doesn't stop the wrestling that Krylov goes for at some point. But I mean, that Gustafsson by decision is kind of looking at me, really, really like 4-1 for Gustafsson decision. I just think that is maybe a little bit off, but I do agree with you that maybe the goes, I should just bet the goes distance, just bank on Gustafsson not getting finished by Krylov. I don't think that's I don't think he's knocking Gustafsson out. I'm gonna go with. And, I feel that Gus as well, he's kind of content to just jab and, kind of just pitter patter back and forth. Krylov, I think, is going to be looking to kick the legs. And, Gus, I don't know if he still has that one shot KO power as much as he used to have. And he didn't even used to have that much one shot KO power. So I might look at over 1.5, over 2.5, and goes the distance in this fight, maybe as my main angle. I'm gonna have to look at this one again a little bit more, but early on, I was considering betting on Gustafsson. I'm not gonna say it's totally out of the realm. I do want to see him at weigh-ins just because he hasn't fought in so long. But yeah, I kind of lean this fight to go later on, as you do as well.
Yep. And yeah, the starts round 3, maybe, that GTD as well. Um, top 3 fight time, stacked top 3 fights. You got Levitt and Pimblett, that's gonna be legendary. Curtis jumping in short notice in the co-main event, and then obviously the heavyweight main event, a rare good heavyweight main event. So, good matchmaking here overall. And let's get into this first fight, lightweight division. Got Patty the Batty Pimblett taking on Jordan Levitt. Patty minus 259, Levitt plus 219. Ozzy, you could start this one out.
I love this fight. And the thing I love most about Patty, like, people always say like, "Oh, grow the sport," blah blah blah. Bro, Patty, like, I got friends that they watch MMA very casually. That they'll send me the clips. Like, they're like, "Oh fuck!" Like, I like the interviews today. Like, I had a friend that they're like, "Man, they're like, is Levitt gay?" Like, he sent because they sent me like one of the videos of him doing the twerking and stuff like that. He's like, "Yo, no way, they got Patty fighting this guy," blah blah, whatever. So I'm excited. Like, people, they shit on Patty Pimblett, but I mean, the guy comes to fight. He's not a boring fighter overall, right? He goes to submissions. He's got some knockout power. Like, I- and I think if he gets matched up all right, like, I don't mind, the UFC trying to build him up a little bit. And I mean, I think that he's gonna beat Jordan Levitt. Honestly, I mean, people like the Levitt side. They're like betting the plus money. I don't see him, man. The thing with Jordan Levitt is like his cardio is just not that good. I do think that Patty, obviously, he gets fat in between the fights, and that's the angle that people are going at. But the fact is that, the training that he's getting, I think, on the West Coast, between, in San Diego with Justin Flores and those guys, is legit training, man. These guys train differently. If I was a guy coming up and I had the resources, I think Justin Flores might be like one of the low key best grapplers in the world and coaches as well. And he's just teaching the game different. The way they're training, the work and capacity that they're putting in on the cardio side. I think that we're gonna see it both in Molly McCann and Patty Pimblett here. They just approaching it differently. I'm not gonna get into it too much. So I think one will see improvements in Patty's conditioning. Two, I think his grappling game is really well developing well. But Jordan Levitt does have some wrestling. He gets in on double legs pretty well. But I just don't think that he's real comfortable at range. I think Patty's going to be able to throw some more diverse strikes at him that a guy like Trey Ogden was tired after that, one guillotine that he went for in round 1. He was kind of gassed after that, and he still almost won the fight. Like, Levitt, Levitt will continuously go for his game plan, but I just think that Patty's gonna be able to put damage on him often enough, and yeah, not wilt like Trey Ogden and some of these other dudes. Like, you got to remember that Levitt gassed horribly against even Claudio Puelles from not like a very high paced fight. So he's never fought. Also, that was a point that Patty was making in like the big cage or in front of a crowd. So I think that will take a lot out of him as well. So yeah, I just think Patty's gonna be able to throw these power shots, not be worried about what's coming back at him, and potentially even now grapple Jordan, as the fight goes later on and Jordan starts to fatigue. So yeah, I think Patty potentially gets a finish here, but I think he's gonna win the fight either way. So yeah, I'll pick Patty for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in agreement with most of that there. I got Patty this weekend, and Patty's a guy who, if you watch a lot of his fights in Cage Warriors, you're gonna see a lot of bad moments. You're gonna see flaws. You're gonna see this guy lose and stuff. But you can't let those images get too stuck in your head. Like the guy is actually an improving fighter. He does have good skills in striking and grappling. His defensive tendencies aren't good. He, has been hurt at times. He's been taken down. Like I said, he's got hours and hours of footage out there. And we've seen the guy, grow from like a really, I mean, I think he started in Cage Warriors when he was like 19, and now he's 27 or something like that. And you can see the clear improvements to the guy's game. Training and getting to the UFC has been good for his career. Obviously, being a lot more serious. And I think some of the guys who we like to talk fights with, we like to look for problems with debutants, with newer fighters, with hype trains. But sometimes it's not time to fade that hype train quite yet. And this is another example of that here with Levitt. I really don't think Levitt is the guy to be the one to expose Patty's weaknesses. I mean, at some point, Patty's going to face a good boxer who can stuff takedowns, who's going to beat the shit out of him. Or at some point, he's going to face a really good wrestler who's going to take him down and hold him down. But Jordan Levitt is neither of those things. His striking, he doesn't throw punches. Jordan Levitt, I'm not sure he understands you're allowed to throw punches in MMA, but he does not throw punches. And I'm really not exaggerating. Like he doesn't. He throws a ton of leg kicks, some body kicks. He's not a bad kicker, honestly. But he really needs to incorporate some boxing into his game. Because I see the bigger striking threat coming from Patty here. I mean, he's more aggressive on the feet. He has a little bit better strike arsenal, and I just think he hits and punches way harder than Jordan Levitt. And if this fight stays on the feet, I mean, I think Patty's going to hurt him at some point. He's going to drop him, and Levitt's going to need to put on the best grappling performance of his life here and take Patty down. Maybe limit some of the striking exchanges with those kicks to the legs at times and time his takedowns. And I don't see it, man. I honestly think that Patty's chances here might be a little bit better than the odds indicate. Levitt, I don't think is even that strong of a grappler. I don't think he's going to be able to hold Patty down. Patty has been on bottom a lot of times and escape bottom. He's been hurt and he comes back. Patty's just pretty comfortable battling adversity, and that's not something I can say the same about Levitt. Um, and I think that Patty's gonna finish him, honestly. I'm betting for Patty to finish him. I'm on Patty ITD here. -115 on FanDuel is the best market price available. And I just think that the striking threat with the KO and the sub are both there. I think he can finish the fight in either realm, and I think it'll likely happen early on here, the first round or two. So I think Patty's gonna do his thing, gonna hop on the mic, and hope to continue to see him grow because the guy's a good thing for the sport. Completely agree with Ozzy. Casual friends that barely watch MMA, they know Patty, they know obviously Barstool Sports and whatnot, and fuck it. I hope he knocks Jordan Levitt out in London in front of his hometown. And then I'll take us to the co-main event. Jack Hermansson taking on Chris Curtis. Great matchup here in the middleweight division. It was supposed to be Jack Hermansson versus Darren Till. Instead, it's Chris Curtis filling in on short notice here. The odds for this one: Jack Hermansson -113, Chris Curtis -107. So this line is getting a lot of action on both ways. I mean, I think Curtis opened up +140. He immediately got steamed to a favorite. He was getting bet as -130, -140, and then all of a sudden, the past week or two, Jack's been getting all the action, and all the comeback action is on Jack here. So I'm sure there's sharp action on both sides here. Definitely a deserved pick'em type of fight. And I was thinking Curtis more so early on in the week when the fight first got announced. I was thinking Curtis was going to, continue his reign. But the more I think about it, I do think the fight probably favors Jack Hermansson, and I think Jack is the guy with more ways to win. And I think that I mean I know that obviously striking is Chris Curtis's main path to victory. He is a boxer. He has lethal hands. He digs to the body really well. His jab is really good, and he's just a really skilled. Layered striker in the pocket. He sees the exchange as well. He makes reads really well in fight, and I think he's definitely the better boxer and pure striker out of the two. But he doesn't really have a great movement. He kind of stays kind of stationary and he lets the fight come to him. He lets guys strike him. He makes reads. He counters them. That's his game, right? But if you don't engage with Curtis in the striking, he doesn't really have a good plan B to move forward and to get his offense going. He's really a counter striker and a guy who lets the fight come to him. So if Jack Hermansson can, stay on the outside and circle and throw a lot of kicks like he likes to do, we saw that a lot in the Vettori fight, the Shabazian fight, even the Strickland fight. He likes kicking a lot from the outside, kicking the legs. He just needs to not give Curtis the opportunity to box here, and he can actually maybe even win this striking. And then obviously the second part about this fight is the grappling. Jack Hermansson should be the better grappler of the two. It really comes down to wrestling. We saw Chris Curtis show some improved takedown defense versus Adolfo Vieira, but Vieira was never a great wrestler. He, came from jiu-jitsu. He never really learned to string his wrestling together. And you saw him. He'd hit a wall. He'd go for the single leg. He would try to hit the single leg, and he couldn't do it. And he hit a wall. He didn't know how to finish the single leg. And Chris Curtis was able to defend 20 single leg attempts in that fight. But Jack just has a different wrestling arsenal that he's going to mix in different takedowns. He's going to shoot a double leg. He's going to be able to make a little bit better adaptations than Rodolfo Vieira in the wrestling. So it seems like Hermansson has a big path to victory on the grappling here, and he has a small chance to win the fight just purely staying on the feet as well. So for a guy who I think has more ways to win the fight, I think he's the side to be on here at Pick'em, and it's a great matchup. I mean, I've gone back and forth all week on this one. I think I'm starting to settle down with Jack a little bit, but I'm not really convinced enough to make a bet on either side. I obviously missed the best price on Jack, so it'll be an interesting decision whether I end up on a bet here. I'll pass this one over to you, Ozzy. I talked a lot about that one.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I got the same side as well. I like Jack Hermanson here, and I mean, and I've bet on Chris Curtis. Let me preface, because our last podcast I did pick Adolfo, and I said he was the right side to be on. But if people know and they were listening to that space that I was on, that live space, I did switch and say that I thought Curtis was going to win, and he did end up winning. So
This
I've
is this
made
is reluctantly true.
that is true, 100%. And I've and then the two previous ones, I've been on Curtis as well, and I was telling you, but you refuse. But I think here he's biting off more than he could chew, man. Overall, I just think that, people think, like, I've been hearing some, they're like, oh, well, Chris Curtis, he prepared for the fight, and trying to compare Jack Hermanson and Rodolfo Vieira for some reason. Like, bro, at the end of the day, Jack Hermanson has this will be his 30th fight. Rodolfo Vieira has not had 9 fights when he fought Chris Curtis. And, obviously he's shown improvements and he's going to continue getting better, but he just so young in his MMA career. And even he was having a good deal of success. And it's the case in all of Chris Curtis's fights. The other guy has success, implementing their game plan, because Chris Curtis, he's not really a negator. He's a good counter striker, like you said, but he doesn't impose his will in a lot of these fights. Yeah, the consistent thing you see body shots, you see him, very comfortable countering, very comfortable exchanging in the pocket and doing things like that. But his power is not as nuclear as people think it is. His 2 KOs in UFC have come from guys exchanging in the pocket with him and having terrible defense, like Brendan Allen. But the guy obviously has power. But Jack, I mean, he's been in with some real heavy hitters at middleweight. He does not really exchange with hooks in the pocket with people, and he always, even when he does, he always has those hands up, and he's got the shell going pretty well. His defense is, I mean, it's not intricate, but it usually works, and he's usually out of range very often, and he has a 4.5 inches of reach more comparing to Hodolfo, or 2.5 when you compare it to Curtis. But I think that's going to play a role in him being able to land his straight shots, and as well as being able to stifle the amount of punches that Curtis can land, along with these body shots. Usually, when you're the shorter guy and or at least you don't have as much reach. You need to get a good deal closer, to land these body shots. And I think that's gonna be the case here against Jack. And I just like Jack's clinch game overall. I feel that, Curtis did slow down a little bit against Hodolfo, but Hodolfo slowed down more. And Jack is known for great cardio, being able to push late in fights, being able to get takedowns, later on in fights as well. And I think the clinch game is gonna be where Jack, whether it be a clinch takedown or he gets the clinch and then is able to get in on like a double leg, he's just much more tactical and intelligent, I feel, with the takedowns that he goes for and then how he capitalizes when the fight is on the ground. He's got tremendous ground and pound. And I just think that he's the right side this week. I think he's one of my favorite bets of the week. And I just think that he's going to be able to give Curtis a fight that he does not often see, and one that is going to make him a bit uncomfortable. Would I be surprised at Chris Curtis winning? No, but I think he's a very casual bet this week. Fighting a guy like Jack, I think people underrate Hermansson given the results of some of his fights, especially the Sean Strickland one. But this is completely different than the Strickland one, and I think he's gonna perform well. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder still, and continues to have that. And yeah, so I like Hermansson. I like the money line. And the decision line on him has been going down, so I'll just probably stick with the money line side. But yeah, I'm all over Jack in this spot. I think it's a great stylistic matchup for him overall, and one that I think will bear some fruit. So
Those late props for Jack too, specifically Jack round 3 plus 13 or 1,400 on DraftKings, I think it is worth it.
I think Jack's gonna show out. I think this is gonna be a great fight for him. Like, yeah, I think he's gonna be able to avoid this left hand of Curtis, but we'll see. We'll see.
You think any action is gonna come back on Curtis, or you think it's gonna be all Jack from here on out?
I think I think there'll be two-way action still, because some people are like extremely confident in Chris Curtis. And I mean, he's just been beating up, like, his striking accuracy in his last two fights has been like crazy. There's no way he lands at a 65% clip on Jack. So I think people are in for a rude awakening as this fight continues to play out. So that's all I'll
Yeah.
say
It's a much
on
different
that.
matchup. So time for the main event now. Very good heavyweight main event here between uh, the undefeated in the UFC, Tom Aspinall, the Brit, the hometown guy, taking on the American wrestler Curtis Blaydes. The odds for this one have Aspinall minus 134, Blaydes plus 114. So this line opened up as a minus 108 pick'em, I believe, on FanDuel months and months ago. Yeah, in April it opened up and got a little bit of two-way action there, but Blades went to the favorite pretty quickly. Blades went to the favorite and he stayed there for like a month, and all of a sudden everyone, I don't know who, but everyone started betting on Tom Aspinall, and now he sits at minus 135 in this one. First time Curtis Blades has ever been an underdog. So Ozzy, your turn to start this one off. Thoughts on the main event?
I'm very intrigued on this fight. Early on, or I mean, early on, I was definitely liking Blades, and up a week ago, 2 days ago, a few days, I was still liking Blades. I'm like, man, this line doesn't make sense. Like, how high can it go? I've cooled a little bit on as the conviction of me like liking Blaze. I still think he should be the favorite in this fight, so I'm still gonna pick him and I'm still gonna bet him. But I'm less on the side of like, hey, like he should be like a significant favorite, or like minus 150 or minus one, higher up. Because I mean, if I'm looking at the striking here, like Blaze's striking is solid, but I do think that he has not fought a guy who is as persistent or like as quick with like some of these shots that Aspinall fires off, as well as like on the counter. Like Blaze has not really fought too many guys that when Blades throws, they're kind of like ready to catch it or dodge it and then strike him right back. And I think that he's gonna probably have to go to the wrestling actually a little earlier than he expects in terms of I think Aspinall's coming out. He's gonna come out throwing, I think, pretty heavily and look and being ready on the counter. And I think Blaydes will be able to avoid a little bit, but I think it's not going to be as he plans. Like he was saying, he doesn't want to rush the takedowns and stuff. I think once Aspinall gets a little bit of beat on him and is able to throw some counters out there, I think Blaydes will be looking to, you know, counter those strikes that Aspinall throws with takedowns. And that's going to be very important because the most important thing to me is the gas tank of Aspinall when he is, throwing off these big shots. Against that Stuart Austin guy, I mean, the guy literally gives up. Like he gasses himself out throwing this ground and pound in the second round, and Stuart Austin puts him in a bullshit ass heel hook. And he doesn't. I mean, even before Stuart Austin gets like the right grip and is cranking on it, this guy's tapping. It's very embarrassing for him, to be like ready to finish and kind of lose his undefeated record there. But I do think that Aspinall is a pretty legit grappler. Like anyone that thinks that he's not a good grappler, I think is sorely mistaken. Now, does that mean that he's going to be able to, wrestle with Curtis Blaydes or get him off him as he fatigues later on? I don't think so. I think that the gas tank for this guy is like a large issue. I don't think it's a small problem. I think it's a big problem if he is like, if he has any output to speak of. So I'm kind of looking to play this under alongside Blades because of what I said there. I don't want to be caught like the last time with Volkov where I didn't have any protection on an early Aspinall finish because I do think he is capable of doing that. But at plus 117, plus 120, I think Blades is a pretty solid bet. Like I said, I do favor him. It's not overwhelming, I feel, because I do have to respect the submission grappling and striking of Aspinall. But I think if there's like cage pushing and stuff like that, and this fight starts going later, I do think Blaze has a significant cardio advantage. But his cardio is also a little sketchy. It's not like amazing cardio. I just think that he's gonna be able to wear on Aspinall more then Aspinall is going to be able to wear on him attritionally. So I'll pick Curtis Blades still. I think that he should be able to throw the jab and avoid some of these counter strikes that Aspinall throws. But I'm hoping that he times a good takedown within the first 3-4 minutes, takes him down in the first round, and starts to grind him out a little bit. But I'm really intrigued to see this fight play out. I'm hoping that Curtis Blades is able to get that monkey off his back and kind of win and like a big fight. Obviously he won his last fight and that was a main event. But yeah, I mean, I think Curtis Blades has some faults in his game that Aspinall can't exploit. But the pick for me and the bet is still Curtis Blades.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with pretty much all of that. I mean, I don't really have any, detailed analysis for the fight, for the matchup, except for, I do think Blades at plus money, is the side to be on. And um obviously, Aspinall has never fought a wrestler like Blades. Actually, a year ago, right after Blades lost to Lewis, they were doing an interview with Aspinall and somebody, and Aspinall said that Blades is his favorite fighter in the a favorite fighter in the division, and he specifically said that Blades is a horrible matchup for me, but he's a matchup that I'm probably going to have at some point. So, very realistic from Aspinall, honestly, to know that he's a bad matchup, but to also know that you're going to have to fight him. I mean, that's a pretty, you don't really see realistic behavior like that in MMA fighters. So, I've been wrong about Aspinall before. Picked him, bet against Sergey Spivak. I didn't necessarily think Spivak was going to win, but I definitely didn't think it was going to go that one sided for Aspinall. I just always been skeptical of Aspinall. Arlovsky, I think I probably bet on. Volkov, I bet on. It's like I'm always, kind of betting against this guy, but I mean, I think we're really getting the best spot possible to bet against him here. You're getting not only, the strongest wrestler in the division, a solid striker, a guy who has 5 round experience, who has more UFC experience than Aspinall, and for the first time in his career, you're getting him at plus money. And I think there's just a crazy amount of money coming in on Aspinall. The people I talk to, the guys I talk to, we're mostly on Team Blades. None of us really know who's betting Aspinall. It could be casual bettors, it could be UK bettors. All I know is that a shitload of money is coming in on Tom Aspinall over the past few weeks, despite a lot of bettors out there. To me, I think the general consensus seems like Blaydes at plus money is the side to be on here. So bit of a confusing line movement going on, but I got to stay with the pick, the American Curtis Blaydes, and I'm a bit confused whether he's gonna finish or not. I definitely lean finish at some point, but man, Blaydes loves to play with his food. He loves to stay on top and kind of coast at times. He really doesn't search for a finish unless his opponent is really, giving up volatile positions. And even then, at times, he cannot look for a finish. Like the Volkov fight, Volkov stood up, tens of times in that fight, and Blaydes just kept dragging him back down. So Blaydes at times doesn't look for that finish, and he could, potentially make this a 5 round boring wrestling fight. I hope not. I hope he does find a finish. But I think I'm going to stick with just Blaydes money line here. I'm not going to do what Ozzy's doing and play an under permutation or something like that. Although obviously I do think it probably does go under. Um, so yeah, hopefully Blades can get it done without being boring. But boring wouldn't be too bad for us at plus money with Blades either. So I like Curtis here for a decent bet and do it. Any closing thoughts on the fight this week, Ozzy, before we get into our best bet parlay?
Not that much, other than I like this Bellator card that's coming up this week, so I think I'm gonna have some bets on that. I'm kind of intrigued by both the main event and the co-main event and a few undercard fights. So I don't know, maybe I'll do a spaces or on Thursday or something like that or maybe even just Friday afternoon. But that's about it. I'm looking forward to UFC card. I think it's cool. I might miss the prelims, but I'll definitely catch the main card for sure.
Wow, what do
So,
you got going on Saturday morning, bro?
bro, I'm an adult.
11 a.m. on a Saturday? We got brunch or something?
I got shit going on.
Fair enough. So it's time for best bet parlay. I have mine. Is you're definitely never
Yeah, go
gonna
ahead.
okay, ready? It's a little bit of a chalk bet, minus 176 on the Wood-Rosa goes the distance. It is my biggest bet I have tracked so far. So putting money where my mouth is, going the GTD in that fight. I really think it should be minus 250. So there's a lot of value.
What was the price you bet it at?
Minus 176.
Okay, interesting. I mean, if I'm gonna take a GTD best bet personally, I would do that bomb fucking Leonardo fight. But whatever, do you? Like you pay 30 cents. Those chicks aren't fucking finishing each other. But anyway, what is your bet? Not mine. Um, I'm gonna stick to a money line this week. And the money line that I think's got that I've betting a few. I bet a dog so far, but that's too big of a dog for me to do a best bet. I'm gonna take Jack Hermanson. So give me give me whatever. Minus 110 I think would be preferred, but whatever. It could be minus 113. I don't really care. I just think he's gonna beat Curtis. I think that Curtis, he's cool, he's good, he's solid, but I think that Jackson be able to get in his face. I think he's gonna be able to go blow for blow with him, and then he's gonna be able to mix in the grappling and outpace, out cardio Chris Curtis, and send him back to America, new contract. I think Chris Curtis is kind of he's giving me I'm happy to be here energy. I'm happy to be getting paid energy, and Jack Hermanson I think is coming to fucking smash and have a good fight here in back in Europe. So give me a Jack Hermanson money line.
And if you do that on FanDuel, minus 176, minus 113 comes out to plus 195. We were coming off a winner last week. Burgos and Simone plus 293 won. And let's try to keep the ball rolling this week. That'll do it. Ozzy, any closing thoughts before we wrap this up?
Zero.
All right, yeah, look out for maybe Ozzy doing something with these other fights this week. Always join our spaces or something if we're in it. And thank you all for listening. Thank you all for subscribing. Hope you all win some bets and enjoy the fights this weekend. We'll see you all next week before the next UFC card. Peace out, everyone.